Hello, everybody. Welcome to Yukon Valley and the YouTube channel. Today we are gonna be back here on the Grey Wolf grind, new and improved version with the send tube feeders, so you can grind at least mostly during the day. So yeah. Okay, so there are couple extra steps and a bit more money involved when doing the feeder grind instead of just drink zones. But it's not really that different if you have already done the uh, drink zone grind or have it started. You can just add the feeders right on the zones or wherever it's advantageous and you'll be perfectly fine. But so let's start with all the necessary supplies. So you will want most likely the Arzina 300 or some other high caliber weapon. I would recommend the Arzina for this grind because it's faster firing, wolves spook a bit faster, and it has 5 rounds. So definitely get that if you can. It's in the high caliber weapons pack. And then any other 4 to 6 rifle, or then the 457 handgun. It also works. I've never used it though. I'm using just a 30-06. Then as for weapons, that's all you need. Then you need the corresponding ammo. I use the Argus rifle scope. Um, I don't have the scopes and crosshairs TLC, so I don't know how much how much better the Odin is. Supposedly it's a lot better. I don't know. You can also use like the Hyperion. Doesn't zoom quite as far, or the Odin, obviously. Then you don't need any collars or lures. Consumables. You probably want your first aid kits, and then either the Apex View or the Vintage binos. I'm using the Vintage binos because they have a bit more zoom. The Apex View, the ones with the rangefinder in them, are 7x42. The Vintage are 8x42, so they zoom in a bit farther. Then in portable structures, you will need 8 send tube feeders, um, and then 16 tents, and then 8 either ground blinds, tree stands, or tripods. I use tripods, and that's all you really need to get started. So step number 1 is changing the time to probably like 1:14 or 1:30, and then going to every spot that Grey Wolves can be. So that is, they could be up here some. I'll probably get a hotspot map that I can put in here, but they'll be up here, in there, up at that lake, that lake, that lake, that lake, that part of the river. Then these 4 lakes right here. There aren't any gray wolves at this lake for me, uh, but I find that these are actually pretty good main zone lakes. and then this lake, and then those two lakes right there, and then that little lake right there. I just have a solo. So once you've found all your drink zones and know which ones are going to be main zones and exterior zones, you want to start by setting up a regular tent about 250 meters away, or like 200 yards, because that's outside of the spook distance for spawning in, or like whatever. It's outside of the spook distance. And then I'll just change the time real quick to daylight. So right now I have all of my feeders except for 2 set up directly on the zone. So this tent is 234, and I almost never spook the Grey Wolves. However, they're not here. Actually, that might be part of the reason why I often struggle to get Grey Wolves in this zone. But so you set up the tent by 139 to 250, not 139, 250, 239. Goodness. To 250 away. And then put your blind at a distance where it's usually about 200 meters. But you want to be at a distance where you can hold pretty much dead on with the 0, and you will be perfectly fine. However, you don't want it too close, otherwise as you run up it will spook them. So you want to set up the your fast travel tent, or the first tent, and then the blind, and then you want to set up a pickup tent, because how this grind works, you have 6 main zones and then however many exterior zones. What that just means is the main zones are zones that you shoot the males in. It doesn't matter if they're 5s or not. That is if you want to use HM. If you decide you don't want to use HM, then just set up on 8 zones. So then you want to place the feeders pretty much directly on the zone, or this zone, this zone's case, right there is where the drink zone is. However, I have my scent tube feeder right there, because if I place a waypoint right there, the fast travel over here, it's like 300 meters or something, and it's near high impossible to get 2, at least for me, and it's also near high impossible to even drop the 1. So that's something where the scent tube feeders make the slightly more difficult animal or zones easier to get to. So like if I run over to the zone, so this is an exterior zone, so I'm trying to get it ground down to all 5s. But so if I run up to the tripod, get in the tripod, it's 385 meters away. That is near high possible to shoot and get 2 of. However, I just brought the feeder over there, and I can quite easily shoot the wolves. But so you want to set up pretty much on the zones, because how feeders work is if the animals come in to within 400 yards of the feeder, there is a chance that they will be attracted to the feeder instead of their zones, their feed zones. So, by placing the feeders pretty much directly on the zones, you make that they can get there, and you know that they will be there. But when you're setting up on like a new exterior zone or something to get the wolves in, you have to first change it to their drink time and then change it back to their feed times. Which, I forget what their feed times are. It's like 3 to 6 and then 18 to 20 or something like that. So, there's not much daylight time in there. However, when I was experimenting, I discovered that if I set the time for approximately 5:10, that gives me enough time that I can complete my entire rotation in about 30 in-game minutes. And you're usually in pretty daylight conditions, so it's not that hard to see rares or whatnot. I still haven't gotten a rare, but let's say you would get like a um, dark gray. That'd be quite easy to spot. So, excuse me. If you're not going to do HM, just set up on 8 zones. However, if you are going to do HM, you want to set up on 6 mains and 2 exteriors. But, so with the exterior zones, what you want to have is pretty much all level 5s. You don't shoot the level 5 males. However, in main zones, you shoot 3s, 4s, 5s, and above. You can stack, which is what I'm doing, where in main zones, you leave the 9s to hopefully force smaller respawns. But if you don't want to do that, you don't have to. So, then once every male in the zone is ground down, you can just move on to the next zone, and then do that until you've completely herd managed every zone. And then I think you'll be pretty much herd managed. You can worry about the solos. I haven't yet. I probably won't. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And I would honestly say this is one of the best ways. Actually, it's probably the best of the 2 methods to grind Grey Wolves. Now we'll quickly run through a rotation, and then that'll probably be the end of the video. Okay, so here at the first zone, and before we start blasting, there is something I have to tell y'all. Set the time for 5:05 first. So if the wolves aren't there, you could change the time 5 minutes forward. And I had to play around to get my wolves in the zone, but you can do it. So we have 2 level 9s in here that I'm stacking, and a 7 and a 6. So if I shot the right one. That was not a good shot for me. First one's down. The 7, though, will die. Or he's still looking pretty good. Okay, there he's starting to drop. However, let's see if I can get him. If I can find the spotting outline. Yeah, no, he's got to get away. Okay, here's the 6, I believe. Liver, lung, stomach. Which honestly makes no sense. Like, how did that round, like, come in, hit the liver, go back out, hit the stomach, come back in, or hit the lung, and then hit the stomach. And I'll see y'all as soon as I get up to the 7. Okay, so here's the 7. He, went the distance. But I'll take it. Okay, so second zone, and well, there's a 5. Since this is a main zone, we will shoot him. And then there's a 6, and the rest are females. So we'll start with the 6, and then swing over to the 5 if we can get him. Ah, shoot. Hopefully I missed. Okay, so here's the 6. I think they need to do something with their, thing up here, because I did not hit liver then lung. However, the 5 was standing back here. I don't see any blood, so that's a good sign. Okay, so I had to wait a bit on this zone to come in. They were still making their way in. Okay, that's a 6, so we'll probably just shoot that 7 and then the 6 right behind them. Never mind. I ought to finish off that 7. Whoa, that was a terrible shot. You know, I might should head to the range on Hirschfelder to practice a bit. Alrighty, so here he is, finally. Yeah, that's pretty much what I thought I hit, or what I hit. I was trying not to hit the female's head, so I was aiming a bit too far forward. So got him. On to the next zone. Okay, so I kind of had to fight to get these wolves in the zone, because I had to reset the time. Because it was 6 a.m. and the feed time. However, they are back in the zone. We'll just spine shot that dude. Drop both of them. Okay, so here's the first 7. Oh, didn't get spined. Okay. Double lung shot. And I hit the left scapula. And then this guy is a double lung heart shot. Way to go, me. Okay, so this zone has a 7 and a 6 in it. So we will start by shooting the 6, because it's broadside. Then we will quickly put 2 rounds in him. I don't think I hit liver. However, I did hit something. Okay, so here's the 6 double lung shot. And the 7 is back here. I'm not quite sure what I hit on him, but my baby touched. No shot. I got a lung. Okay, I thought I was gonna hit like stomach, maybe if I get lucky liver. But no, I just had to go up and lung shot. Okay, so this zone has a random 8 over there. And then 7. Somewhere there should be a 9. Unless he decided to vacate the premises. Actually, he might have gone underwater. And it probably should reload. But didn't need to. Alrighty, so here's the 7, double lugged him. And then the 8 should be right over there. And I got left lung, liver, stomach. This time it actually properly showed up. Okay, so this exterior zone, I think, is pretty much ground down. That 4 was not there last time I came through. And there's a 6. Another 6. Currently we got a bouncer that just so happened to be a lucky level 4. Actually, lucky for both of us. He gets to live, and I one wolf closer to getting this zone ground down. And let's see if we can get both of these level 6s. Dropped both of them. Okay, so here's the first 6. Double lung shot. Cool, cool. And then the other one is laying a bit farther uphill. Apparently some tracks are underground. Right lung liver shot. Okay, so last and final zone, we have 2 7s that need to turn into 5s or smaller. Should probably reload my gun. This is another zone in which I actually moved the feeder to make the zone a bit easier for grinding. Because that zone's actually right there. Feeder's like maybe 50 yards closer. Must have shot too low on this guy. That should put him down. Okay, so here's the first 7. We shot too low on him. And then double lung shot and hit the leg. The other guy, though, is also a double lung shot, mainly due to a slight, very, very slight cornering. But I think that's going to do it for this one, everybody. And, yeah, hope you enjoyed, and I hope y'all can now pretty easily set up your feeder grind. But yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye.